So, Michael, you are now recording.
Okay. I hope that after I looked down and I said, my goodness, it's 1 p.m. GMT. And I had been arranging certain things. I think Tuya will be with us relatively shortly. We've had, she's up in the little Bear Meditation Center, and we've had a lot of difficulty because of cut electricity lines and storms.
I am here.
Which we expect, you know,
Do you hear me?
The Arctic Circle, where it is.
Yes, Tuya,
so
we can hear you.
Joining us as soon as maybe possible, and maybe she's already with us. I don't know. Let's see if she is here yet.
I am here, Michael.
Okay, well, I think she'll be here shortly. And Michael Stacy is helping us. Okay, I hope, yes, now you should be able to hear me. So I'm off to a strange start. As I said, Tuya is up at the Little Bear Meditation Center, and we've had storms and an electricity cut. There were certain things that she wanted to get to you before this meeting, but they have not been possible. So we'll make do the best we can. This meeting comprises many of those who have taken their pledge or their commitment, and some who are new to the process, and you will be offered a chance, if you would like, to take this, to say this commitment out loud in your home or wherever you're working from. And for the time being, we'll do it all together, as there are quite a few people who would like to join our effort. And I think we do not have time to go one by one, but you'll get an idea of what we're doing here. And it will be then for you to decide whether you want to continue with this esoteric work to support the emergence of the souls of nations, and thereby the emergence into greater prominence of the soul of humanity. So if you would like to continue with our work, then that commitment will be necessary, but at least you'll get, you know, some kind of idea here. There are quite a few of us gathered here today. I won't go through everybody's name, but I'm really very happy to see you. And we have some meditations in store to advance the general purpose, which, as I say, is relatively simple. Some people have asked, well, is this really affiliated with the actual United Nations? And I would say, well, we don't get into the details of that. The various goals, millennial goals, are in the back of our mind, and of course we support the movement towards those very necessary and practical goals. But our purpose is to consider the many nations, and always more and more, you know, since the time that Tibetan has written his work on the destiny of the nations, and to consider ways of bringing out the higher qualities of these nations. We have a lot of help from a research team, and they have been, you know, gathering some history and of various nations which help to keep us informed, and we can study those on our own. Actually, the nation for today is Slovenia, and we don't have a we don't have a soul ray, we don't have a personality ray, and we don't have astrological signs, but we do have the date on which they declared independence and the date on which their constitution emerged. So we'll keep up our work along that line a little bit later in the program. As I say, because of the various problems we've had in the north, Tuya has not been able to sort of assign the three gatekeepers for the week, but she will be on that, as shortly as may be possible. So the very first thing I'd like to do is turn to the destiny of the nations. Now, at the time that this was written, following World War, well, the Great War from 1914 to 1945, but we think of it as World War II, a number of the fairly prominent nations were listed, both in terms of their soul ray and their astrological signs for both ray and the soul and personality. And then other nations were given simply their astrological signs, soul and personality. And we're going to kind of review those just to, get into the swing of what it means to think of a number of nations in an invocatory and hopefully evocatory manner. So that will be our first meditation, and then we will have other meditations towards the end of our process. So let's see if I can find yeah, I just found it. All right, very good. So this is from the Destiny of the Nations, and I'd like all of us, and let's see, I trust that you can see that. It begins with India, and then China, and so forth.
Yes, it is up on the screen.
Very good, Michael, thank you. Okay. So friends, let us come together as a group and as an esoteric unit within the new group of world servers. And wherever we may be located geographically, it is one being, really, that we are, and one consciousness. And we are working together to call forth those constructive qualities which will help to harmonize human beings all over the world, and communities and nations, continents. We are a member of the fourth kingdom, and harmony through conflict. So harmony is our goal. And that era of peace, which DK tells us will supervene, and which the presence of the Christ will strengthen. But first, we have to learn to share and to get rid of corruption politically and religiously, and then the peace in which we can accomplish so much as a race will develop. So as members and potential members of the new group of world servers, we are preparing for those conditions which will facilitate the externalization of the hierarchy and which have to be fulfilled to a degree if the Christ is to reappear. He will gauge the time of his reappearance from this fulfillment, at least partial fulfillment regarding sharing and the cleansing of the corruption, and finally, a measure of peace. Now, just to warm up a little, you know, we've been considering many nations week by week. And we started with the most populous, you know, not necessarily the most important, but most populous nations, and have been working our way down. But I just want to help warm us up a little bit here, as we can concentrate briefly on calling forth the soul. I won't get into the personality difficulties right now. Calling forth the soul of some of the nations which Master DK has listed in this tabulation, this table from page 50 in the Destiny of the Nations. So let us think of ourselves as an invoking unit, invoking the soul of these nations, and bringing them together in such a way that they harmonize. Obviously, to study any one nation is, in many cases, a very demanding and exhaustive, complicated study. But that's not what we're into right now. We're just thinking of the best qualities and calling them forth into human consciousness, calling them forth to appear on the world's stage. So all together we are now, and we invoke the first ray soul of India. I hide the light. We invoke the first ray soul of China. I indicate the way. And maybe I should have said the first ray Aries soul of India and the first ray Taurus soul of China. I indicate the way. Confucius will be returning, we are told, and lots of important changes will occur. We invoke the fourth ray Aries soul of Germany. I preserve. We invoke the fifth ray Pisces soul of France. I release the light. We invoke the second ray Gemini soul of Great Britain or United Kingdom. I serve. We invoke the sixth ray Leonian soul of Italy. I carve the paths. We invoke the second ray Aquarian soul of the United States. I light the way. We invoke the seventh ray Aquarian soul of Russia. I link two ways. We invoke the fifth ray soul of Austria, and it is under it's under Libra. So the fourth ray Libran soul of Austria. I serve the lighted way. We invoke the sixth ray Sagittarian soul of Spain. I disperse the clouds. And we invoke the fourth ray Leonian soul of Brazil. I hide the seed. And in all these nations, we can imagine the image of the Christ the head of the hierarchy, standing centrally in the midst of the soul of humanity and really in every nation. Now, the next group of invocations does not have the ray. We invoke the Cancerian soul of Argentina. Don't come to think of it. No, I have it. Yeah. We invoke the Sagittarian soul of Belgium. We invoke the Capricorn soul of Finland. We invoke the Virgo soul of Greece. We invoke the Aquarius soul of Holland. We invoke the Virgo soul of Ireland. We invoke the Scorpio fourth ray soul of Japan. We invoke the Taurus soul of Poland. We invoke the Leo soul of Romania. We invoke the Libran soul of the four nations of the Scandinavian countries: Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Iceland. The Libran soul. We invoke the Aries soul of Switzerland. And there with probably much seventh and fifth ray. We invoke the Cancerian soul of Turkey. And we sound the Om on the basis of these invocations. Thank you, friends. There are so many possibilities now, these days, with new nations added. And we will have to do the research to determine, before Master DK perhaps gives us the proper energies of the rheological and astrological directions of the many of the nations that are rising up. Many of them still immature, many of them would have more trouble expressing their soul nature than their developing personality nature, but all will arrive in time. And so our work is to, you can feel how it, even though brief, it tunes you in on something beautiful and powerful and useful and necessary emerging from these nations that we have mentioned, and they are just some of maybe the larger nations. But there are soul qualities and positive qualities emerging from many. And when we put them all together, we will have the contribution of the variety within the developing causal body of humanity. We'd just like to read here a little bit from White Magic. It's all about the kinds of control that has to develop as we learn in White Magic to control the astral body. This is one of the major factors for world harmony. Let's see here. I can.
You are showing passages from White Magic.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Michael. When a man literally walks in the light of his soul, and the clear light of the sun pours through him, revealing the path, imagine yourself in this position, because you are the aspiring disciple. When this happens, it reveals at the same time the plan. Simultaneously, however, he becomes aware of the fact that the plan is very far as yet from consummation. The dark becomes more truly apparent. The chaos and misery and failure of the world group stand revealed. The filth and the dust of the warring forces are noted, and the whole sorrow of the world bears down upon the astounded yet illumined aspirant. Can he stand this pressure? Can he become indeed acquainted with grief and yet rejoice forever in the divine consciousness? Has he the ability to face what the light reveals and still go on his way with serenity, sure of the ultimate triumph of good? Will he be overwhelmed by the surface evil and forget the heart of love which beats behind all outer seeming? This situation should ever be remembered by the disciple, or he will be shattered by that which he has discovered. But with the advent of the light, he becomes aware of a new, for him, form of energy. He learns to work in a new field of opportunity. The realm of the mind opens up before him, and he discovers that he can differentiate between the emotional nature and the mental. He discovers also that the mind can be made to assume the position of the controller, and that the sentient forces respond with obedience to the mental energies. The light of reason brings this about. Light that is always present in man, but which only becomes significant and potent when seen and known, either phenomenally or intuitionally. So let us ponder for a few moments on what has been said here. Because as members of the new group of world servers, working in this case esoterically behind the scenes, we are given indications about how to work. And so we must not become crushed, shattered by what we increasingly see. And these passages from white magic give us the indication. The oath that we have taken, and I ask particularly that the new people concentrate on this, because you'll be given a choice as to whether you'd like to continue with this. This is a commitment, this is a pledge, finally this is an oath. And we cannot go very far with it, with any of our spiritual progress, unless we can kneel before the altar of the mysteries and declare in our most sincere and determined manner our intention to go forward. So just take a moment to study this, and then later we will renew this together. I, and then your name, humbly stand with my sisters and brothers in the one work. I realize the need and my responsibility to humanity. I thus give my oath before the Christ, the Master, my solar angel, and my pledged friends. To stand together until the 28th of December, 2026. That's the end of the next festival week of the new group of world servers. And invoke every day the souls of those countries we have chosen to invoke. And then when we do this together, we'll have these moments of silence, and that will be you communing with your own soul and your master. I also want to, if it's okay, Tuya has been able to join us, and I want to make sure that she is unmuted if she wants to speak. As I've said, we've had some problems with electricity and storms in the far north. And those cuts have been difficult. So,
Michael, I am here.
yeah. And if you, I just want to make sure that you're audible. And if at any point, amidst all the repair work going on, then you can, just speak. Now, we'll have some moments of discussion, but let's just say that our work today is with Slovenia.
Michael?
Yes, it's coming.
I would like to confirm when the public meeting ends and the private meeting begins.
Okay, it's not going to be.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, everybody can join in it and decide whether they want to continue, because they will have heard about this, because so on some level they're interested. So here, in the former area of Yugoslavia and very near Austria, Hungary, Italy, Vienna there, and Croatia, surrounded by those four countries, is our country for today. And we're very grateful that I think Lynn has provided us with this, and other members of the team, Lorraine and Frederick and Catherine, and a number of, I'm sorry of my memory, but a number of the members have provided us with the historical research. And when it comes to this country, it is a country of high quality and has been around a long time. We don't necessarily have to read everything, but it has been prominent. We know that the dates given by contemporary anthropology and so forth are not necessarily matching the esoteric dates, and probably the hierarchy looks upon things in a different manner. But there was industry and literature and compulsory education. So it's a country that certainly is one of those that can successfully invoke the soul. Now, I guess the thing is, we'll do some research on it, but we have here the desire for change, and I elevated this in the bolding, and I think Lynn provided us with this. Thank you. This went on for several years against the view of the Yugoslav government. We know Yugoslavia has been, broken up, and the other countries are now independent that were part of it. And on the 25th of June, and that is the sign Cancer, 1991, Slovenia declared independence as the Republic of Slovenia, a multi-party representative parliamentary democracy. And its constitution was promulgated, very well in Capricorn, very near to the Capricorn solstice on the 23rd of December, 1991. So even though this is not one of the countries given by DK in terms of astrological quality or ray quality, as so many are not yet anyway, we do have the Cancer-Capricorn axis. And as we think about this nation and its place here in the central part of Europe, and so near certain countries that have a long established history, Austria and Italy, and maybe Hungary too, really. We can think about, with further study, invoking the positive qualities of Slovenia. I know some esotericists in Slovenia, they're very dedicated. They would, and we can, do that with a number of nations, they would be able to tell us much about the esoteric scene there and about the positive qualities of the nation. Well, you don't have time right now for that, but that's the kind of thing we will get into. And I just want us to, even though we don't have our yet assigned our 3 guardians, and we will shortly, when our temporal problems are solved, let's think about this country with its emphasis on education and commerce and in general, a country of some development. Just reach out and invoke the soul of this nation, and we can use the Cancer-Capricorn axis for the independence and for the advancing of the Constitution. We know that Cancer-Capricorn are the 2 gates. Cancer, the gate into life of those who must know death. It's immersion of consciousness in form. And Capricorn, the gate into life, a different kind of life, of those who know not death or know no death. So let's concentrate on bringing forth ever higher quality in this particular country, because the soul is the quality of life. Life, quality, appearance. And when we have, pictures and so forth of the nation, you'll get even a more vivid sense of life in this nation. And always when we focus on a nation, as in our meditation, we do see the Christ there. And even so simple a thing as seeing the map and seeing the great Lord as if he were influencing and standing in the midst of that nation, even without all the particulars, that will serve a useful and constructive, invocative purpose for which there will be an evocation. So over the years, we have much study to pursue as we learn more and more qualitatively about every one of these nations and feel closer and closer to the soul of the people, whatever nation it may be, large or small. Now, this week, We'll be working, today is the new moon day at 5 o'clock p.m. or 17:32 and 48 seconds. So we try to do this as close to the new moon as we can every month. But the real work, of course, is done in between. So every day, you can give a little bit of time. That's what our little commitment is about there. You can give a little bit of time to the nation of the day, and we'll certainly try to keep up with you, notwithstanding difficulties as they arise. Tomorrow we will be working, I think all of you have this, I think Michael, Stacy sent this to you, Guiana-Bissau tomorrow, that's Tuesday. We will have Latvia, one of the Baltic countries, on Wednesday. Basically, the countries are listed by population and not by importance. Bahrain on Thursday, and Equatorial Guinea on Friday. And Trinidad and Tobago on Saturday. And then we return to our, I hope you all have this, and if you don't, I think Michael, let's see who has sent this. Lynn, I think, has sent this, and Lorraine sends, and a number of you on the research committee send out some epitome about the country. But then you're free, of course, as you have the time, to look more deeply into the nation with the photographs and, the substance of the culture and all of that, which we don't have time to deal with right now, but which it would be helpful and wise to get a feel for. And then
Michael,
yes, Michael, am I not?
when I sent this out, I just got the names of the countries from worldometers.info, and I didn't have this other information available.
Okay, well, let's make sure that you have that. So, this goes up to the 25th, so you can get it to everybody, and we'll, get our ducks lined up here shortly. So,
hey, here is Tuija. Sorry, I have tried to get in for a while, but it is not functioning here. So
really?
You are, yes, it's my mobile. I cannot tap my microphone.
You're good.
So everyone will get these weekly meditation sheets today. So we had the accident here. A working man was cutting the electricity line, so we have not got this. That's why. So anyway, today you will get it. And I just would like to mention that Tarja Salomaa, Risto Gustafsson, and Stasia Hipkins would be the guardians for this week. And I was putting that on chat for Michael, Stacy. Do you want, Michael, that I write for you?
Yes, I received that. Stacia Hipkins, Risto Gustafsson, and Tarja Salomaa are the guardians for this week.
So, Michael, when you are leading the meditation, you can take the names. Did you hear that, Michael Robbins?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. I did hear that. Well, there's so much research, isn't there, Tuija, that can be done on these nations. And we have some experience with feeling closer and more intimate to the people of different nations as their photographs, both historical and present, appear.
Yeah, this is a wonderful exercise for everyone to align the different countries. Maybe one has never visited, and majority of the countries are those that we have not being able to visit there, or they are on the other end of the world, but still just meditating, even with the name, is giving some impressions. And the more we do this way, the more sensitive we become. And it is also helping our own work in our country, so-called in our country, in this life. There is a purpose why we have been born to certain countries, and to try to get more and more insights about the purpose of the soul of the country is so important, because the group of the new group of observers and the disciples should become all the time more and more aware of their work, particular work that they are meant to do, where they have been born. And then maybe you are moving somewhere else. So what is that aspect, that what has come on your way, that why did you move to another country, and what you are supposed to do there? The basic line is about that the disciples are meant to help everywhere where they are, and we are meant to help the governments, and as DK is talking about the new group of observers, that group is a group which is not taking a part in political parties in that sense, that taking sides. This group is about those who are bringing the wisdom into human living, because anyway, everyone of human beings are meant to be. So that's why we can never pinpoint that some group is more important than another. It is that the groups have a different rhythm in their externalizations, that they need to do certain works. And we should start to understand in the countries that the countries have their own way to influence the whole humanity. And what is that influence that this country is supposed to bring forth in order to help the whole humanity to move forward? And this is a kind of next step for all of us, to start to be more globally conscious, and start to understand the linking of the countries, how they are linked together, and what they are supposed to do, and what they are supposed to emphasize, or what kind of way they are supposed to protect the humanity. And now this time of Corona is so good rehearsal for us. If you have been looking in Europe, they try to find now solution to the issues, what they have been putting for the idea of the big loan, Corona loan for European Union countries. But there is going to be big issues all the time which are related to the money, which are related to the human conditions, which are related to the healthcare. And now again, Corona has been rising, slowly but rising in certain countries. So we do not know about our future, how long the situation is going to be. Today they said in the news that actually Russia has been finding, they said that what is that, injection? Michael, what
vaccine,
is that? Vaccine, yes, that they have been already finding out the vaccine for Corona, and they are testing it now with humans, voluntary humans. So it might be very soon, or it might show that it is not working. We do not know yet, but it has been a good rehearsal for international relationships, and to think about the way that if the way what we have been living, so, and have this free access to almost everywhere, if that is going to be limited, and what's the reason for that. Over.
Yeah, you know, what Master DK has given us in terms of the links between nations, Tuya brought this up, in the Soul of Nations broadcast, which is usually, it's on Saturday, I've been going over the rayology and the astrology of the United States, both direct influences and indirect influences. And it's just amazing how the different energies link up with the major and subsidiary energies of other nations. So what we're really doing here, we're finding out some kind of esoteric science of international relations. An esoteric science of international relations. He was explaining, you know, for instance, why so many people from Italy have emigrated to the United States, but why so few from France have. And it's all in terms of the rays and astrology. So this really will be, I think, developed. We have quite a bit to go on even right now, but it will be developed in relation to the new installment of the teaching. You know, it's so interesting. Well, I don't want to get off on that. I mean, but the links are there, and if we study the way he has dealt with some of the major nations, rheologically and astrologically, we have a model about how we can determine constructive lines of cooperation between these nations, which will lead to the necessary harmony. So, you know, he said, the political work is very important. He says, so many esoteric students, they shun the political work, but why should they do that? When in fact it conditions so many millions and even billions of people. So I think that our efforts to go deeper and deeper into the energies of these nations and call forth the very best will help us play our part in bringing about harmony within the soul of humanity, really soul personality harmony. After all, humanity at the moment, I do believe, has a fourth ray soul. And we can use all these energies to help esoterically create the harmony. Well, maybe we can, if you have any, this would be a good time, I think, if you have any questions or any statements that you would like to make, Michael can help field them, and then we can respond to them, Tuya and I or others, you know, so you have a chance to offer your thoughts about the process and what we're doing here. So is there anybody that, now Michael, I don't know, maybe you can see whether people are, you know, raising their hand or whatever they're doing. This is different from GoToMeeting, you
know. People who raise their hands will come to the top of the list and are easily found. To raise your hand, if you click on the participants window, there's an icon within that where you can raise your hand, or you can write in the chat box.
Yeah. We're all learning together, right? You know, we've got 5 years more before the great conclave. And believe me, politically, it's going to be quite a scene all over the world. You see anything?
Nothing yet. No hands, no chat messages yet. Perhaps briefly, just quickly discuss how this initiative came about and a couple of points on its purpose.
Yeah, well, I'd like to turn that over to Tuya, as she is the mastermind on this. So if that's agreeable to you, Tuya. Are you there? Can she get in? That telephone is sometimes problematic.
Tuya is still in the meeting, so.
Yeah, Tuya, do you hear me? Or, you know, the electricians
I
are
am
working.
hearing.
Yeah,
I'm hearing. Yes. What did you say? Because there was a cut at the moment. Yes.
okay, dear, it was about Michael. Here, Michael, just repeat what you said to Tuya.
Yeah, yes, Tuya, if you could just give a brief introduction, perhaps, as to how the initiative came about and a couple of points on its purpose.
Right. So first of all, we have a very long purpose written down, and it was sent for everybody in the beginning. So, and we were reading that together. Maybe that could be sent again, because there are some aspects of that what we are aiming to do. But I was already hinting to that we are supposed to help also the evolution in humanity, help on this side the hierarchy, because we are on the crossroad at the moment, as we can see all what is happening in the world, big problems, the climate change, and now this corona thing, that they are going to affect every single human citizen, every part of the world. How we are going to solve these problems, it is that we have to come together. And the one task of the new group of observers is to invoke the soul of nation. So we need to invoke the soul of our own nation, and in that sense also gather together and invoke the souls of the nations, or the soul of nations, in order to just do our part, because this is also according to the old tradition, that if there is nobody on this end and says nothing, then on the other side the higher ones cannot action. But if there is even one, even that one can make the whole change, and that is the example of the Christ. He is the representative of the humanity, this earth chain humanity, and he was the only one in that moment 2000 years ago in Gethsemane, and he was invoking, first of all, it is said that he was starting the era of love, and then when he was giving up in his initiation, sixth initiation, he said, not my will but thine will be done. And that was the moment when the will of God the first time was anchored on earth. Only one is needed. So that's why everyone's possibility, or in one sense responsibility, but also this huge possibility, when we align with our own country and try to really merge within the soul of the country, to try to understand what is needed and what is the next step for the soul evolution in that country, that there is the invocation. The great invocation has been given for us as a tool. And if you remember the story, that it was discussed in hierarchy, that could this be given to humanity, and what should be done with humanity, because the things were not going the right direction, and there has been continuous problems with humanity. But there were those certain masters who were for this, that one should try now. So in that sense, in the long run, we know that everything will be solved out. But in the short run, as there has been many points, DK has been pointing that it was a surpriseful, even for masters, that how humanity was opening up during the World War. Then, as with some disciples, he says that it was a surprise even for the solar angel, that the steps that certain disciple was taking was like over that estimation. And that is showing us that we have so much huge possibilities at the moment. And just another day, I was just thinking again, there were some formations up in the sky again. And if you think about this past 20 years, how many times there has been all kinds of figurations, which tells about these alignments, which are like in the crossroad, there are coming huge amount of energies in one period of time. And DK is pointing us out that these are the days of opportunity. They are not always with us. And I think that he is pointing out that in the great cycles which are going through the cosmos are now somehow linked together. And we are, with Earth, we are in those processes as well. So our Earth is aligned with the greater cycles, and if humanity, so it means that if disciples, because the humanity is always or maturity are always sleeping, but the disciples should not sleep. They should absolutely understand what is the opportunity at the moment and do everything we can to work together. And this is how I have been thinking. So this whole humanity thing and this cooperation with people and trying to solve problems have been all of my life some kind of a key star, what I am interested in. And it really hurts every time when one sees that the separatistic idea has taken over, and if people are building more borders than bridges. I have fourth ray mind, and that's why my mind is always trying to find what is the similarity with differences. And so that's why it was cooking in my mind a long time, many years actually. And then came some kind of pressure now when it was during the Nuclear Power Servers Week. It was just really stressing pressure within. And I said to Michael that now something has to be done. And I think it was, one thing was that this corona was developing there, that gave some kind of inner stress that something has to be done. So that is a little background behind that, how and why it was then that moment when we were putting forward this idea. And this idea is developing, and it's our enterprise all together to see where we want to go. And one aspect of the purpose is that we consciously build ourselves to become more and more sensitive, so that as a group we would be able to be the voices, as it is said that in the sacred circle, all those voices are needed in order that this circle is completed. That's why we should develop interaction between us and trying to give all these insights that we have, that we will bring them into our common pot, so that our soup will be wonderfully spiced, is that correctly said? Spiced.
Seasoned, you know.
All right. Mm.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's great. Thank you to you for that background. Has there been anybody that would like to question or
Yes.
offer? Yes.
Yes, there are some questions in the chat box now.
Okay.
First, how are the guardians of the gate chosen?
Well, that is chosen. There is the list of us, and then I am using this old tradition, just picking up the names. So from that pot where we have the names of the people, and then I'm picking up a name. So that is how it is chosen. And in the beginning, we were sending you a note that if you have any triangle, there have been some triangles who have been working already together. So then we would be putting those people to work together. But there is not any more magic than that at the moment, and we can develop that.
You mean, Tuya, you don't want to say how you secretly talk to Master DK and he tells you
No, I don't
exactly
want to
who
tell
should
about
be
that.
in every triangle?
No,
Yeah.
that is about that. And let us say see that we could also develop that like people who are in the same country. So we are in the very baby steps of that kind of thing, how we are organizing. And as we have been talking about the groups of 9, so but then these groups of 9 is already this kind of occult work that we have to really talk more about it. So that's why we have not been moving further in that, but it is developing. And now we just look, when we have gone through this one round, all of the countries, then we can again talk practically what we will change and how we will be approaching then.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a diagram, excuse me, Michael. There's a diagram on one of these PowerPoints that shows DK's setup for a group of 9. There are actually 9 points, but 12 opportunities. In other words, 4 triangles and 9 points. And it's a particular type of diagram that he used to organize a group of 9, but that will be, look, the numbers are not the important things right now. It's more the motivation, the values, the understanding, and then we can talk about the specific occult methods. Okay, Michael, please go ahead.
Okay, next question. Does daily meditation occur at the same time for group meditation, or is it done individually at home?
Right,
yes.
we have been chosen this way that it would not become any issue for anybody, that everybody can choose their own time. Our purpose is that we would be keeping this invocation on, that we invoke the soul of those countries. So that's why we will not put any demand on those times at this time. But then there is this at 9 o'clock. I'm sorry, it's 6 p.m. 9 p.m. Every time zone. If you would align for the corona alignment, that we would be invoking help in that sense. So that is according to the time zones.
Yeah, and Master DK also, there was for each student a group meditation and an individual meditation, and he left them free on both accounts. So it's the only practical way, really, because of the time zone spread and so forth. You know, we can't have people waking up at 3 in the morning to do a specific meditation unless it's a very special spiritual event, not certainly for a daily event. So you have freedom there. It's still a group meditation according to your thoughts. That's the important thing.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, there is a reference to the Rays of Nations given by Benjamin Cream in his book, Maitreya's Mission.
Yeah. What about it?
I think it's informational. If you want to just say something about that, if you're aware of the book.
I
would
am not
say,
aware.
I would say, be careful. That's all.
Yeah, but
Because
one does
because
not know.
because
I don't know even.
I know something about it, and you know,
Oh,
you don't give Mozart the raise 4 4 4 4. You know what I mean? Look, I'll always trust Master DK in these matters. Okay, and when there is great deviation, as there often is with other rheologists, you know, I make a study of this stuff, and just be careful. That's all, because you may be working with erroneous information. That's all I can say. That's been my experience.
Next question. I see that very little is said about Africa, but what guidance would you give to someone who lives in an African country? For example, I live in South Africa, who wants to start understanding the soul of that nation if no research has been done on it.
you know, this Africa situation is that, and when we think about that, DK wrote this already in the beginning of last century.
Well, no, not
So
exactly, dear, not exactly. He
what
wrote it
year?
in the 1940s.
So
Yeah.
it really feels like in the
I
beginning
know,
of last
I know,
century.
I know.
But anyway, it's already 60 years ago, right?
70 something.
So it's anyway a long time ago, and in 70 years humanity has been developing so much. It's a huge step comparing to that time, and but that time Africa was more like sleeping. Only what it was about 60s 70s when the African countries started to become independent. So that's why everyone now who has no information from DK, we have to by ourselves try to fill those holes. And it's important, yes.
Yeah, and the way we can do
Important to,
that is through, you know, the study of the qualities of the people and the date of the Constitution. Or look at here. We all know
can I,
that.
Michael, I just finished this idea, one
Yeah.
second.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So
Sorry.
so that's right. So one door in is about the when the Independence Day is, and look the astrology of that, and you know, for that is also how do we find that moment is that when the Constitution has been signed. There
Or
can be many
independence
times, yes, there can be
declared.
many declared, right? So there can be many steps of that process. For instance, for us Finnish people, there were also like 1 day steps in that process, and even longer process. So it's good to study the history and try to find out very precisely how, when the declaration has been signed, and look all of those astrological aspects, and look, do you see that in your country, those things? And then also, as in humans, as disciples, the race can change in one life. So can you see that, has there been ray changes in your country? And I think that we can see those things because the countries have been developing so much. and write down all these aspects. There are some of our members who have been already sending very interesting things about their own countries, and we will be making for you available. Just forgive us a few months. When the summer months are over here in the north, we will go back to that these ideas, and we are developing with Michael Crow our own page, so that we will start to collect your notes about your countries. And you know that nobody is demanding at the moment that we have to be correct. We just put our hypothesis there and the reasoning why we think so, and that will be very interesting study for whole group.
Yeah, you know, South Africa is quite an advanced nation, but it really is one of those nations for which colonialism played a very big part. Whether, you know, it's the, what is it, the Dutch and the English. I believe that's correct. And there was a Boer War in 1902, you know, who would gain dominance. But look, the real soul of that nation, you might almost say that Nelson Mandela was a kind of avatar to that nation, a racial avatar. And his emergence and the changes that, you know, turning it more and more over to the native peoples, this is a whole new incarnation in a way. So it just has to be studied, and your intuition has to be activated, and your study of the documents and their dates, and, you know, and maybe we can hope, and we can even anticipate that this political teaching will be taken further. And when Master DK around the year 2025 starts to write again, that one of the tasks he will have is to take new nations into consideration. And in a way, South Africa, as it slipped from colonialism, just the way India did, you see, it was colonized, but then its own virtuous power emerged. So some kind of blend is going on there, and it's still uncertain, and it needs the students to try to divine what the energies really are. And then Master DK will probably give us some indication along that line, because it is a highly developed country. And, you know, and yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tuya.
No, just finish your idea.
No, I'm yeah, go ahead.
I was just thinking that is also interesting thing to ponder on, why we have been under some countries. Trying to go through or beyond that what are those negative sides about that.
Yes.
But seeing that why we have needed to be under some countries, what has been those things, what has needed to be developed, like our domestic animals, they are under human influence and human guidance. So there is also that kind of aspect that the country or the nation has been needed to be under something, because karmic relationships and what other
incarnational experience, basically. You know what I mean? There were 3, maybe 4 different times when individualization occurred. In the previous solar system, on the moon chain, in Lemuria, and in Atlantis. And, you know, there was a lot of cruelty going on there. You know, you just kind of look at what the King Leopold did in the Congo and other places like that, just really cruel. And Britain was no saint when it came to India, you know. But let's just say that the imposition by certain cultural, civilizational types that have had a long experience, even though very unpleasant, it probably contributed to the faster evolution of the people who had to at first suffer under it. It's a sad thing, you know, when that kind of imposition occurs, because it could have been done in such a better way, it seems to me. So much ambition, there was, you know, so much taking of the natural resources, so much theft, you know, just really bad things. But in the last analysis, probably there was a hastening of the evolution of those with less, in general, okay, evolutionary experience. Now, every race, every group has its own very high souls. And they come in for, you know, purposes, you know, even if you look at, let's say, the remnants of the third root race are still with us in certain groups. And there are high souls in there to really help bring about that elevation. We have to be so cautious. It's all a question of incarnational experience and the way more experience interacts with less experience. Sometimes it's so brutal, so cruel, and it could get a lot better. And that's what we have to promote.
And there is one aspect what we have not been talking about, the sacred sites of the country. That there is something about in energetic ways, and TK says that we have to learn to read the energies, and we have to learn to understand energies, because the disciple is the one who is in constant energy sea, constant change of energies. So these that the sacred sites of the country are those places with the old ones who were sensitive in that sense. We were marking that there is something in relationship to the Devic life, that there is easy access, and this kind of cooperation is what we should be doing.
They know something. They know something from the ancient days we don't know. Some of you have been to Uluru. They used to call it Ayers Rock, you know, it's a clumsy term, but the native people called it Uluru. And, you know, it is in the middle there of Australia, and it is special, really special. So we have a lot to learn from the groups that don't have as much incarnational experience. They also don't carry certain kinds of heavy karma which have stopped us. You know, those who've been around a lot longer. So the bottom line is we have to treat everybody with respect and love, and as an essential human being, a soul. That's what we have to do. And overlook these superficial differences and just do our best to help everybody advance. You know, sometimes it looks so stupid when you think about the Christian missionaries coming with their imposition about, you know, what is holy and what is satanic, and they try to impose that on people who have so much more sophistication and understanding than they do. This is a real tough area, and it gets into racism and all of that is causing such a problem today in different countries. And I want to say, especially in the United States, we've got to get ourselves through this, and we can work esoterically to do it. Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to read one more comment. There's several, but I'd like to read one more and then go to Martha, whose hand is raised. Comment is sharing an experience recently. For the first time since we are carrying out the work with the EUN group, on the day of the Cancer full moon, I had a strange experience during the meditation. It was a Sunday, so the work was with the 3 synthesizing countries. As soon as I started the meditation, I started to see ugly faces as like those of the lower astral. And although I realized that they could not enter the ring pass knot of the group, I realized that there was some kind of force that was trying to oppose the task. So I ended the meditation and practiced the exercise advice in case we felt any low or dark force, being the wheel of living fire. All regained balance again.
Right.
It's very powerful. It's a powerful thing. And yeah, look, what DK says is that those forces, and these are the words he used, are warring militantly. Look at those, it's a very Martian kind of thing, are warring militantly against the efforts of the aspirants and disciples. And that just goes with the turf, and that's part of the hidden dangers of treading the path of occultism, and especially the path of initiation. That's it. You got to be brave, because you're going to face
Yes,
a lot of things. Yeah.
and this is a fact. It is a fact that when the group is going to gain more power and is able to penetrate, and we become better and better in our invocation, it is a fact that then this other side has to act and has to try to stop, because it is the law. The Christ couldn't be without the counter forces, and so it's the same idea, and that's why it is very important. I think that the most important is for us to start to interpret everything correctly. So we need to have rehearsal always for that what we are, the insights and impacts what we are getting, that we become more and more precise and more rehearsed for that we are able to gain the real occult seeing, and that will mean that in this kind of I call that rehearsal, because I think that this work is directly related to the next life. So we have started together, and maybe in next life there is more and more people needed for that kind of work, that it's global work, and the more we gain understanding about different nations and countries, the more Christ and hierarchy can use us.
Yeah.
So important experiences.
Yes, it's so, there was this disciple, RSW. She was quite close to Alice Bailey, and apparently quite close to the Tibetan. And basically, I'm just going to summarize very quickly. The Tibetan said to her, yes, you are under attack. Yes, I could stop it immediately, and you would not be under attack, and then you would learn nothing. So, what are you going to do? You have to endure some of these forces which are realities in the world of illusion, if I can use such a strange combination of words. They are actualities in the world of illusion, and the greater the light, the closer the dark, and vice versa. So,
and we have to remember, like in clamor meditation, DK teaches us the means of protection, how we are supposed to do the cross of light, from the forehead to the heart, from left eye to the right eye. So that shows us that when we are working on this kind of level, we will also disturb those forces which has been sleeping, because there has not been danger of the transformation. But then when we are gaining more and more power in spiritual sense, we start to disturb those forces, and so they have to start to act as well.
DK said basically that those who are preparing for the reappearance of the Christ are marked out for special
That's right.
protection. But at the same time, they have to learn how to stand on their own 2 feet. And if hierarchies solved everything, which in a way they could, just kind of step in, then where would be our adequacy, our strength, our ability to guard and protect and to be part of the guardian wall, as it were, that stands, what does he say, like a wall of unshatterable steel between the really negative forces and humanity. So, these are some of the dangers on the path of occultism, and if it just seems too severe, then then that's not the path for us.
And like in like all kinds of spiritual work, we have guardians, and in Masonry there are guardians as well. So it is very old tradition in that whenever you do the sacred work, you have to also have that aspect considered, that you have guardians, and that our triangle guardianship is now in baby steps towards that. We will then, when we gain more understanding in our group and in our practical work, what we do, then we start to talk more about this guardianship, because it is also another training that one can be a guardian, because guardian has to develop this kind of standing through hardship, through against the human, what are those when you become sleepy, or the human tendencies.
Yeah.
So guardians are always in very hard training for that they can stand in the darkness and be alert and look into the darkness and being aware of every single
Because after
what is
all,
happening
isn't
there.
it? This is, this is to some degree first-ray work. So we have to expect that. And I don't think it's easy for anybody, but there are reserves of courage within the spirit of the human being, which can be called forth and can be used to ward off. Well, exorcism is a real thing. There are people who are experts at this, and they just know how to get rid of the demons, and the demons do exist. So that's all.
And yes,
Yeah.
and you were talking in the beginning about that are we related to United Nations? So in a spiritual sense, yes, that we try to also generate this kind of energies, that those who are making decisions could be supported by the uncolored and undetermined energies, which could be used for good. So we try to color, or we try to give the energy for good decisions, good for all. And there we must do a lot of work, because if we think about this moment, the present moment on earth, in every single country, there is so much negativity which is covering everything. Humanity is so unsatisfied, so disturbed, so irritated. These energies are around the world. These are the clouds which are hanging around above the humanity. And the disciples should be able to now penetrate through those clouds and let the sun shine, the soul shine into the psyche of the country and the nation, in order that we will be able to make better decisions and hold, in that sense, the evolution towards the light, what is so great possibility at the moment.
Thank you. Okay,
Okay.
Michael. Yeah, go ahead.
Martha, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael and Twee. I'll try to keep my remarks edited. The first point is that I suspect that the power behind our effort has to do with the telepathic impulse that Tuya could not respond to. And my hope is that as we do this work, that we continue to focus on the vision rather than the past, because while we are actually kind of in the midst of the past, it's actually the future where the light shines. And in light of this, I am recognizing the reality that global work does prompt shadow to act. So if I might offer that, when Tuya mentioned the cross, where we sign ourselves with our forehead down to our chest and then across the eyes, one of the easy mantras to say is, I stand in the light, and from that light, I will not move. I could just say experientially, this is a very powerful tool, and it can be done internally. My second point is that when we brought the point up about Africa, it occurred to me that there's been some incarnational events that took place in history. And one of them is in the chat box, where we recognize the Constitution was signed and promulgated during a Capricornian era in 1996-97. And that Constitution was actually constructed. Mandela called in some of the human rights experts at Columbia University. And so at the same time, there was the destruction of apartheid through the strong voice of those who were letting go of any investments that had to do with apartheid. And so the breaking of the resistance was through the redirection of the flow of money. The actual promulgation of the Constitution was a far more forward Constitution than exists in our country. So I would just say there are other instances that we could call incarnational in Africa. One of them would be Rwanda, where the genocide occurred in 1994, and now they have one of the largest political governance groups made up of women. I would point to Tanzania, where the African Union has given them an award for good governance more than 1 year in a row, which is part of the challenge in post-colonial periods. And then to Tunisia, a country that is part of that whole Egyptian Spring effort, where the Mid East is in transition, and in Tunisia, there's an effort also to cleanse and clear the system from corruption, but to promote multilateral nations. In regard to South Africa, and this is my third point, which is that one of the thoughts that I've had, I'm a participant in a destiny triangle, and that one of the thoughts that have come to mind in reference to that is the progress of history in reference to these destiny countries. For example, the United States, which is now in very retrograde period, was also the instrument for the promotion of this constitution in South Africa. And that the Great Britain has left a great legacy, and indirectly was somewhat a part of the growth of ahimsa in India, that we live in duality and that there is often a great force exerted. And that Russia, of course, from the Altai Mountains, and Helene Blavatsky, her foresight, her prophecies are actually becoming embedded in physical science at this point. And that affects how countries operate. As Tuya mentioned, climate change is a scientific reality, and it's exposing us to many new ways of thinking. So this third point I was trying to make is about the interplay of the 5 vortexes where higher energy comes through. This is very evident and can be tracked in global work and dissemination. So again, I would urge us to hold our attention on our intuitive capacity to see the vision, because it's coming upon us and it's highly overlooked. So, you know, we take, I want to also praise you for bringing up the caveats in Rule 10 of Treatise in White Magic, which you put up on the screen forward. This is significant in the planting of seed thoughts, and that this EUN is really an opportunity for us to, first of all, take on global work in a relatively safe space, because we can help each other and protect each other. But secondly, I would say I do think that there's a mandate that we make a commitment to look forward, and that we understand that just as we suffered our experience, so have the countries, and that it's not ours to look to the pain, but it's to look through that to this energetic interplay that has been inspired by the framework of this esoteric United Nations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wow,
Thank you for the knowledge there. It's very helpful. And, you know, right now there are 5, what should we say, planetary centers. The center in South America, has not really emerged yet. The center in Africa, you know, it'll be connected with different rounds. And Africa will be one of the, you know, the major planetary centers somewhere there. Of course, it will be far, far ahead. Even South America, I think, far, far ahead, if we discount New York as the present center. So let's just say, yes, a forward-looking attitude, and that is all about the intuition. The intuition reveals the future. So thank you for your knowledge on these points, and yeah, somehow important to keep this in mind with regard to Africa. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Martha. It was wonderful. And I would like to all of you to notice that it is so wonderful to hear everyone's voice. It's good that we can write also our messages, but I would really warmly support everybody that if you could also participate with your voice, because it just gives a quality difference. And
on Zoom, you can easily have galaxies behind you, wherever you are, and waving palm trees and oceans, and, you know, so you don't have to worry about your, you don't have to worry about your present place. Yeah. Obviously, this is exactly what I see in the temple where I am right now. See, look at that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anything else then? Yeah.
Another comment. Another person says, I see some dark figures watching sometimes, but I also see a threshold they can't cross. So I take my attention away from them and they fade away. But I also use the ring of fire, which is quickly established.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah,
and of course,
yes, Master has been given us means what to use, and that's why they are working as you have been seeing. It's very good to know.
Another comment. In terms of soul energy, Japan has several power spots out in the countryside in a mountain or shrine, for example, Mount Fuji, Mount Osore in Aomori, Togakushi Shrine in Nagano, and Meiji Shrine. They enhance life energy and to purify and relax the mind and body of citizens. They enhance life energy and purify and relax the mind and body of citizens. There might be a relationship between these energy spots and the energy of the country's soul ray.
Okay, and look, about all this, there are chakras within the countries that are represented by these kinds of power spots. Now, just to give you an idea, in the United States, it's a second ray soul, but the head center is Washington, the throat center is New York, the solar plexus center is Chicago, the heart center is Los Angeles, and then, you know, you have some other choices there as well. But always look for the important energy places because they may represent the chakra within the energy system of a general soul ray and personality ray too. So that has to be determined. He also, for the British Empire, or what to call it now, you know, Commonwealth or these related countries, he talked about, you know, Sydney, Australia, he did, and maybe Canada. In other words, he gave chakric assignments to the overall second ray British Commonwealth, or the, you know, what can we call it? It's no longer an empire per se, but the different countries did occupy different functions, for sure.
And you know, there is, when we think about those sites, that's why it is important for us now to stimulate this old knowledge, because we need to understand this energetic system, what is within that country. DK says, and I mentioned that in some of our meetings, that he says in Soul and what is that? Nations and Initiations book, that why we have been born into the country is because of our body needs the energy of that country. And it has to be then related to the initiation, because if you think about that, that always the higher initiatory energies are more vibrant and more powerful. That's why the vehicle has to be built in order that it can hold also those energies. And for that, as at least I am translating this way for myself, but that's why we are born to some countries, because we need the energies to be built that the higher energy can be descended in through that vehicle. And one interesting point for that is that where are those sites, sacred sites, there are always some special plants. And it is about that, if you think about how Master R was making his own food, and he didn't, when he was Saint-Germain, he didn't eat the same way like the other people were eating. It was very specialized diet, because he knew about the energies, and the herbs have been always those things that humanity has been using, and in all times people were knowing more. But study those plants, because our soul is a flower. So that's why the plant kingdom has direct relationship to build the higher energies as well.
Yeah, actually, his cook was Roger, who had only been with him for 500 years. Not a long time at all. It's in the Most Holy Trino Sophia. It's a wonderful book about Saint-Germain, Master R. Is there anything else? Because we're reaching the time. We've been, 2 hours.
Another question.
Yeah.
Is this why there is a requirement to make a pledge as a form of protection?
A form of commitment, Look, you don't get anywhere on occultism. You don't get
Yes, there
anywhere.
are many, right. So there are many reasons for that. One reason is about that, that it is protection. But one big reason is about that what DK says, that there is, that in one point of the evolution, when the group is moving towards the higher step, in that higher step movement, you will take the oath. So it is just that kind of tradition. And I have been thinking by myself about that because we belong to the throat center of this planet. So the word is very important in humanity and for disciples. So we have to make the word living. And by taking oaths, we are making living these words. We will put higher frequencies in those, because there is always purpose when one is giving the oath. And it is bringing us also to the sacred realm, because in our work, the oath is given always in relationship to sacred work.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, DK makes a big deal about the pledged disciple, the pledged initiate. And if you read Initiation Human and Solar, and I'm sure that the majority of you have read that book, you'll find that every step along the way has its unbreakable commitment. And now, you know, there's parts of the personality that don't like that, doesn't like to be held down, doesn't like to be restrained, doesn't like to be disciplined, etc. But we decided for this particular effort that there would be that kind of commitment necessary to continue. And Michael, is there much more? Because I have in mind just kind of some closing work here.
Why don't we, there's no other questions. Why don't we end the public meeting and then move into the meeting where the pledges are given?
Well, in terms of public, here's the thing. What we're going to do, in front of you has been this pledge, and the only way we can deal with this right now is that those who have made the pledge can review it in their minds, and those who would like to take this pledge can take it in their own consciousness and out loud where they are.
Michael,
and
no,
then,
it has to be, no, everyone will give the pledge in front of the group.
what you mean singly? Is that what you have in mind? Because we have no time for that now. We have no time for that.
It depends how many we are, but no, it has to be a sacred moment and done.
I believe there were 42 people that
to making pledge now?
We're new, yeah, quite a number, see. So I have a feeling what we should do.
So let us ask this way. Can all of those raise their hands who are planning to take a pledge at the moment? Because
I think, dear, we need to have if you don't want to do it all together, we need to have a separate event for that, particularly.
There were 42 registered who were new to the initiative, but not all of those new registrants have entered the meeting.
Right, okay. So maybe
I see that there are two have been raising their hands. So it's not too much.
Their name go to the top? Will their name go to the top?
Yes, when they raise their hand, their name goes to the top, and we can see all those who wish to make their pledge at this meeting.
Well, here's the point. If or at whatever meeting we decide, in order to continue with the group, you have to make your commitment, okay? This was a special occasion, and you know, we open the door and say, well, you can see what we're all about, and then you make your decision about whether you would like to make that commitment, that pledge. So we would at least like to know those who would like to continue with the group by making the pledge. Then please raise your hand now so we can see how many of you there may be. Other than that, we can decide when that would happen.
And to raise your hand, click on the participants window, and there's an icon in there, hand, and if you click on that hand, you will raise your hand.
Okay, Michael, and then you
Somebody
can count.
cannot see the hand. So then you can also, if you don't see the hand and you do not manage this way, you can also put for Michael Stacy the note that if you want to make a pledge. So I can see 6 hands.
Okay.
And,
So what's
and
it?
one person says they can't see the hand.
Okay, so then 7.
Nice number. Look, just so you understand that to continue with the group, you need to make the
Christina cannot
commitment.
see.
She cannot? Okay. Michael, just make a note if you'd be so kind. Because it's if we do it singly, it has to be another meeting. We cannot go for 3 hours right now.
So do we have 8 of the people? Michael Stacy, are you able to see? Because I have my little mobile and it's really difficult to.
I'm keeping track of it.
Okay, good.
Will we have the email address of these people, Michael?
I've included those in the list of interested persons, yes.
Okay.
So let us have, because we have so many now, so we will have then a special.
We have
yeah.
8 persons who have indicated a desire to join the group.
Right.
Okay. Then we will
9.
have, we can decide whether it should be tomorrow or a week from now or whatever.
Yeah, let us look a good timing and we will send the note for everybody. Yeah. We can have after the meeting, we can have a little short meeting with all of you. So beautiful. We thank all of you. And so we will have a special meeting for this oath giving, because it is a sacred moment and it has to be respected in that sense.
And the meeting is being recorded, and I will put it up on Makara in the public Esoteric United Nations webpage, so that it will be available to everyone.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Tuya, would you like to maybe lead us in the great invocation?
Michael, it's the daily meditation what you can lead. My possibility to have it is so bad. So if you do that from your end.
You would like the daily meditation? Okay, yeah, it's short and yeah.
And you have also the guardians there.
I don't. Yeah, that's on another. The guardians are Tarja, Stacia, and Risto.
Right.
Okay. Okay, friends, then we'll have it is a short meditation, and then we will close with the great invocation. And if you have anything, any thoughts, concerns you want to discuss, please write to Tuya. Maybe you have there's her email address right there. Write to Michael Stacy, which is lightbearer137@gmail.com. And you can include me in it, infinitize8@gmail.com. So a little bit now with this closing daily meditation. And I assume you see it, Michael, is that correct? I think it should be correct. Yeah, it is correct.
I see the meditation, yes.
Yeah, very good. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'll keep it short. we visualize the group members as if in the Garden of Gethsemane, where Christ is making his fateful decision, the group members are surrounding him and standing alertly with him to support his mission of bringing heaven to earth. They are not sleeping, they are alert to his presence and to the will that he is accepting as world savior, world teacher, and a custodian of the will of God. And then we say together the little mantra that is quoted there. We have gathered in your name, Lord Maitreya. Be with us. Then we align with the guardians of the gate, in this case, Taria, Stacia, and Risto. They have the responsibility for this week to keep the connection as open as possible. And we align with the members of the Esoteric United Nations group, creating a vivid network of light, love, and goodwill. And we align with the new group of world servers around the world, strengthening the quality of right human relations in every country. That's the quality of Master DK's ashram, right human relations in every country. And we focus on the 5 spiritual planetary centers that form the 5-pointed star of humanity: New York, London, Darjeeling, Geneva, Tokyo, with the higher points of the star. Well, it's the 3 active centers right now: New York, London, and Geneva, and then with Darjeeling and Tokyo slowly coming into greater vitality. And we focus on that particular planetary center to which our country belongs. We invoke That is, we spiritually demand the plan of the soul and the soul values of our own country, that these shall be established. And we remember that he for whom the whole world waits has said that whatsoever shall be asked in his name and with faith in the response will see it accomplished. The plan of the soul for our nation. And we call particularly the soul ray of our own country, if we know it, and aligning it with what we imagine to be the solar angel of our country. And we visualize the Christ, the avatar of love, as the ruler in the heart of our particular country. And we invoke, as we have begun to do, the soul values of the country of the day, that today it happens to be Slovenia. And we call on the soul ray of Slovenia, if we know it. Maybe we don't, but it's enough to call on the soul to align with our image, our imagination of the solar angel of that country. And we visualize the avatar of love, the Christ in the heart of the country of the day, which today is Slovenia. We are animated by a sense of expectancy as we work in this way, and we expect, we imagine, we believe that some success has been achieved interiorly and helpfully by this little alignment. And we establish the way for us. It is the way of loving kindness, which is what Maitreya means. It's loving kindness in the group and upon the earth. And together we sound the great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Oh. 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 Thank you, everybody. We're approaching the new moon now. It will be at 5:32 and 48 seconds GMT, maybe another couple of hours or so. And you can use it as an opportunity to go deeper. And those of you who have signed up to make your commitment, we'll get to you and find a time when we can do that all together. And Tuya, would you like to say anything?
I just want to thank you, thank everybody. Thank you for your participation and thank you for your work that you are standing and making us become stronger and stronger as a group.
Indeed, and thank you, Michael, for guiding us along the way here. And you'll be hearing from us. We'll do this, if not on the full moon day itself, which it so happens to be today, then very near to the new moon.
New moon, Michael.
New moon,
not
new
full.
moon. Yeah, We do other things on the full moon. New moon. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Lots of
Michael?
love. Yes, Michael.
Yes, I will get this converted recording posted on Makara as soon as I possibly can, and then send out a message through Constant Contact that it is there for those who perhaps registered and were not able to attend. And I'll be in touch with the entire group, including those who have raised their hands, once that date and time has been established.
Yeah, excellent.
And can you also copy the chat? There are so lovely notes, because I cannot do it with my mobile.
Yes, I will send the chats to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, everybody. We will be seeing you. And tomorrow, I don't think we have anything on the schedule particularly, but Wednesday, we have Ask in the evening, I believe it is, and the other webinars in the morning. So lots of love, many blessings. We'll be connecting with you. And Michael, I think you would have to end the program for us.
Ending the program now.